Now we're live. We're up, and I'm working the freaking. I'm working the computer.
I might crane my neck every once in a while.
I'm working the computer because Jen isn't here. So.
Yeah. Oh, poor Jen.
Yeah.
Like I said,
Ken is no longer.
I might have to move and crane to see the chat a little bit.
Oh, the chat's gonna be on the right hand side, so
Yep.
you should be all right. Yeah, I moved the TV because now I could actually read it, and I don't have to look at it from across the room. I like it over here, actually. Yeah, what was I going to say, though? Yeah, so let's get back. Oh, hello, and welcome to the Freemasons Podcast with your hosts, Right Worshipful Brother George Mudgery.
Worshipful Brother Joe.
And Brother Frank.
Brother Frank. Franky Bombs is
Franky
up here.
Bombs.
First time on camera.
Yes, sir.
You're not shitting yourself yet, are you?
Maybe in about 10 minutes.
It's all that custom coffee you make. Custom blend.
It is.
Yeah, Jen is not with us here today because Harmony had a
had a
barbecue
pig
For
roast.
the George Washington.
Oh,
pig roast,
George
yeah.
Washington. Sorry.
This is just another situation of Ken not being able to hold his alcohol. Oh, well, what'd you say? He held it for a while?
He held it too long. he might be licking a few wounds.
Yeah, so we're up here with Brother Frank, who let us in the door, thank God, because we don't have a key fob yet.
Not yet, no.
I keep dropping the ball, and it's partially my fault because I'm the one who keeps forgetting to ask for
Well,
it.
there was a computer glitch with the door anyway. So.
Yeah, so
we had to recode everybody anyway.
So, but today we're not going to be talking per se Masonic. Well, I fucking hope not.
Well, no.
But we are going to tie it into men's mental health, which is something that's rarely talked about. I don't know. I always grew up in the whole household. I don't know if you guys were the same. As rub some dirt on it.
Yeah,
we don't talk about our feelings. You're not allowed to cry.
Right.
Be tough. Be strong. Not even from again, my mother died when I was young. I was 15 when she died of cancer. My father was a tough son of a bitch. My favorite line is in any movie is in Bad Santa when he's in the car with the kid, right? And he said, "Oh well." So let me preface by there's going to be some swearing on this episode. So
there's probably going to be a lot.
Don't
of
let your kids
children.
listen to this one. But in that movie, they're sitting there, and he's like, "You know what happened if I came home with a black eye?" He's like, "Your mom and dad would make it all better." He's like, "No, he'd kick my ass." And when he wasn't done kicking my ass, he was putting cigarette butts out on my neck.
Exactly.
But I mean, that's
especially if you didn't win the retaliation.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
did you win?
Yep.
If it was yes, then all right.
Today's society, in regards to kids and everything, is so much
God,
different.
it's so different.
It's like, oh my God, little Johnny, are you okay? Like, I'd walk in the door, but it's like, what's your fucking problem?
Well, but
what's wrong with you?
But here's the thing, and when we get to the topic, this is a good part of the discussion is, so as we get older, we have kids now of various ages. Our mentality is so different than the coddled structure that these kids are going through. Imagine the mental health issues they're going to have when they get out in the real world and realize I have to show up on time. They're not going to hold the whole class up for me, 100%. Or it doesn't revolve around me. And you go to college, nobody's going to be there to wake you up.
We're already
get you to
running
class.
into that. I'm sorry to say.
It's huge, yeah.
That's why you can't go to a restaurant anymore because they're closing the door because people don't want to work.
Right.
My biggest thing is participation trophies. The biggest
lesson
you could learn in life is to lose.
Absolutely.
Because it makes you that much better. When kids get
trophies just for showing up.
Just for showing up. The hell is that? Do I get a sticker or a raise every time I just show up to work? No. Shit, there's times where at work I've done things that were over and above. And they go unrecognized, but I don't do it for the recognition.
Or sometimes you get a handshake.
Sometimes you get a handshake.
Thank you.
You guys did?
There's stories of... Yeah. I mean, there's the one time I was in Stanford, there was a older lady who didn't really speak good English. She's in the hallway crying. And just nobody's paying attention to her. And I kind of just walked over like, are you okay, ma'am? I had to use my phone to Google Translate into Spanish. She's trying to find out information about her son, and nobody would help her. But I went and helped the lady. I moved her around. I got her information she needed. I found her to somebody who spoke Spanish, and we were able to solve the problem. I went downstairs, right back into the cell block, and went right back to work.
Right.
because I wasn't looking for an attaboy or anything like that. I'm not looking for a cookie or anything like that.
Right.
And unfortunately, we live in a world now today where, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm going to stop two things. One, it is good that we coddle our kids a little bit more.
There's a balance.
There is a balance,
Yeah.
right? But the over the extreme of, every time my kid does something wrong, there's actually a funny TikTok where it was a little girl and she kept flicking on and off the light, and the mother's like, "Now we don't yell. What we say is," and then it turns over to another dude, probably about our age. She's like, "Hey, knock it the fuck off!" Like,
Yeah.
Right, and you did.
But it was the mother who was trying to be like, "No, we say," like being all sweet and everything. And then there's just the father who just rips the video cuts and it switches over to him. They stitch it, I think it's called, and he just rips it's like him ripping the kid's head off. But
we're setting them up for failure in life because life is hard. I mean, look at all these college campus protests, how they're treating those situations. It's like, come on. My daughter went to Kent State. We know what happened there.
Well, I respect your right to protest.
Absolutely.
When you turn it into when it devolves into a chaos and you're burning shit down and you're ripping flags down and knocking statues down, that's no longer a protest. That's a fucking tantrum.
You have a right
And
to
I don't care-
peaceably assemble. That's your right.
And I'm going to say right now, I don't give a shit whether you're on the left or the right. Neither one should. They shouldn't have went into that Capitol building. And you also shouldn't be ripping statues down and ripping down American flags. You should not have done it. But in this situation, we're going to talk about Killdozer.
Killdozer is interesting, which is funny because you sent it out the other day as far as, hey, let's do, what about doing Killdozer? I'm like, is that like Bigfoot or Gravedigger? What the frig is this? Because I thought it was like, I must have been living in a bubble in 2004 when this happened because I just don't remember it. I don't remember it at all.
So this is, I just switched over the overlaid image here, so everybody can see it. It's going to be up here momentarily. Everybody's going to see what Killdozer is, and this is a bulldozer that was plated with half-inch steel.
Yep.
And he welded the whole thing together.
Welded himself in. So
right.
he knew what was going down that day.
And he also, on this bulldozer, he put small gun ports in. So he could
he could fire back.
Fire
this is, and let's just state before anybody gets worked up, we're not condoning this. No. We're not saying that everybody should go out and do this. Although if I saw a little kid coming down with a little Power Wheels Killdozer at Halloween, I think that's pretty cool. But we don't want to portray this man as a hero or anything. No. But it just goes to show that you can only push a man so far.
100%.
And that I think is the moral of this story is you can only take so much before you break. 100%. And sometimes when you break, the ramifications are significant. Yep. And that's where we'll relate it into the mental health issue later on.
And this is why you shouldn't fuck with people.
Right.
You shouldn't play a mental fucking mind game with people. Men, we're going to use this as an example of trying to be maniacal, manipulative over freaking people. Like, fucking with somebody's head,
right?
It's fucked up. Like,
well, yeah. And there's always so much.
It causes people to do the exact polar opposite of the effect you think you're going to get.
Yes.
Okay. We'll leave it at that.
Well, and there's a couple expressions that go with that. The most simple one is fuck around and find out.
There you go. My favorite line.
Maybe the more
I have that shirt, by the way.
The more poetic one is everyone's fighting a war you know nothing about. Which, when I was a kid, it was don't screw around with people because you never know. One day you're gonna pick the guy who's having the worst day, and he is just gonna destroy you. I try to say that to my stepson all the time because he likes to run his mouth. I'm like, dude, one day you're gonna say it to the wrong person, and you are in no position to defend yourself.
Punched in the fucking face. Yep.
And it's inevitable, unless he learns. But all it takes is one bad day with the wrong person, and
it's never going to be the loudest guy in the room.
No,
I've learned that 1,000% with my work and just in life.
It's the people
the loudest guy in the room is the most afraid. Yeah. He's the most. he's not going to do anything. He's going to talk a big game, like he's going to do something. It's the quiet guy in the corner that's not saying much. He's the one who will fuck you up.
Right. Think of the loud guy is like the guy yelling and waving his hands when the bear comes up to him to try to scare the bear away, because the last thing he wants to do is take on a bear.
Right.
So he's trying to just scare it away, trying to use that as a tactic, an avoidance tactic. But every once in a while, that quiet guy that you know nothing about, he's quiet because he's probably contemplating something. You just don't know what's in someone's head.
Brings me up a story about my grandfather that my father told me years ago. They used to work for Central Connecticut Cable Company, and I think there used to be a junkyard or something next door, and there was a dog that would just come barreling ass out. My father would freaking run, jump in the truck. Right? He was always afraid. My grandfather got out of the truck one day, was walking, and this dog came at him. And he didn't even move, stoic as hell. And when the dog lunged at him, he grabbed him right by the fucking throat and choked the piss out of this freaking German Shepherd.
He probably never did it again.
Shut up! And then 2 or 3 days later, he was petting the dog.
Yeah.
Because the dog, that's not the one.
That's not right. He thought it was a game. He's like, let me go bark at these people and make them run.
But this is what happens. This is going to kind of tie into the Killdozer thing.
Yeah.
People do things, and they say things, and they act a certain way, expecting something to happen a certain way. Whether it's screaming and yelling and being nasty to your boss, or screaming and yelling and to try to get somebody to do something. You're thinking by your actions, you're going to get some person to comply.
Right.
Sometimes, in some cases, they will comply. They will listen. They will do what you want them to do because they're just in a beta. Is that what it is? A beta personality of a man, right? Who's kind of like submissive. And every fucking once in a while, you're gonna come against that dude that ain't a beta, and he's gonna. All right, cool. You want to act like this? This is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah,
and that brings up the story of Killdozer.
And that's when you're talking those personality types, you've got the alpha that everybody talks about. You have the beta. It's actually the sigma personality that is by far
which
the
ties
scariest.
into the cause and effect issue.
Yes,
right.
You cause it, you're gonna get the effect.
And that's one of, while you're pulling this up, and we'll get into it more later. But that's one of my biggest flaws as a person is I tend to match energy and amplify it. So if you come at me with really positive energy, I'm going to match that and take it even higher. That's why my friends that I'm close to, people that add value to my life, we get along great. It's like this whole is great feeling. That's a strength, obviously, but the downside is you come at me with negative energy, I will match it and amplify that as well, and that does not always go well. So that's the whole subdue my passions, because that's the piece that I know. Right. You come at me hard, I'm coming at you 10 times as hard because I don't have time for this, so I'm just going to end it fast. Right. And that doesn't always go well.
In the room, I'm a little bit different. I'll back off. I'll wait and see. And if it's a total effect on the group or the gathering, I will step in and reverse effect the situation just because I'm of that generation.
Right.
I'm the quiet older Gen X.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I'm more of, and this is again,
you're reactive.
You were just talking about, what you were saying, subduing your passion. I got one too. Like everybody got a freaking downside to them.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm a vindictive fuck. I will be the first one to admit that. I'm a vindictive son of a bitch. That, all right, you want to play this game? Cool, I got you.
Yep.
Right.
And I won't do it to your face. I'll do it where it'll explode later. I'm like a ticking time bomb. This is my fault. This is my problem. This is my downfall. I won't do shit. I can be reactive. Don't get me wrong. I can fire right back instantaneously like Joe is 10 times fold. I can magnify it. But most of the time I'm like, okay. It all depends on situational. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
That's my fault. And I scheme and I plot, and I'll think of the best way to fucking burn you. That is my fault. That is, and I own that shit. I own it.
We all have something we're working on. It's the outward appearance that you see of most people.
Yeah.
It's probably for the most part who they are, but once you get beneath the surface, you might see some things that you'd be shocked to see. We all have it, and that's the burden that a lot of us carry.
My other thing is I'm a talker. I'll tell you what's wrong first. I'll tell you what I didn't like. I'll tell you I don't like the way you're treating me. I don't like this. I don't like that. And I will have this conversation with coworkers. I'll have this conversation. And again, I don't want to get into detail here because I still work with some of these people. But there are things where I tell like, listen, man, stop doing that. Like, it's not safe. It's not good. Right. It's not, this isn't helping the cause. And if you continue it,
right.
Right.
I can't, you know what I mean? Like, you good, Frank?
Yeah,
is it?
No, yeah, I couldn't
going
see
limp. Oh, okay. Got you. Sometimes they start to, the mic start to fall down.
The older you get, that happens a lot.
This pill's fine.
Can't take them.
So I will talk, but if you're not heeding my warning,
right,
I don't know what to fucking tell you. And you can't come back and say to me, well, you never told me that. Bullshit. Right, exactly. We've had this conversation multiple times. I'm not going to keep playing the same fucking ring around the rosy bullshit with you. And that's how work partners get changed. Anyway. Anyway, let's talk about Killdozer.
Marvin Heemeyer.
This guy, Marvin Heemeyer, little quick background to this guy. He was an Air Force veteran.
Yes.
I believe he was an Air Force veteran. He just wanted to live a quiet life out in Granby, Colorado.
Oh, Colorado, that's right.
Granby, Colorado. He wanted to just get a little stretch of land, make a little business, and move on from there and just be left the fuck alone. Well, this kind of reminds me of the movie The Knockaround Guys. You ever seen the movie Knockaround Guys?
I've
It's
not.
kind of a shitty-ass freaking slight mafia, not so mafia movie.
B-style movie. It's really
B-style movie.
Yeah.
But the premise of the story is like these guys were from the big city. Some money got left in a small-ass town, and the small-ass town is a very tightly knit town, right? So they've not... Some of these, I don't want to say podunk, because I think it's, podunk towns out in the middle of nowhere. They're very tightly knit.
Very incestuous.
Everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
And they don't take kindly to outsiders coming and buying property and living there.
Like Roadhouse.
I think like Roadhouse, or kind of like modern day today is where you get like people from Texas telling Californians, don't fucking move down here and bring your bullshit with you.
Right, because you ain't going to like it.
You ain't going to like it. Right. Don't come down here. And I'm just using Texas and California as an example.
But that's a real situation right now.
But it's a real situation right now. Whereas, listen, this is our fucking town. Don't come into this town with your bullshit.
Right.
We ain't going to have it. Kind of what Marvin ran into a little bit. So, well, when Marvin Heemeyer from Granbury, Colorado, reached a dead end in his fight with a local zoning commission, the logical response would have been to petition them once again and to wait for a future reply from them.
Spoiler alert, he didn't do that.
He didn't do that. After all, Marvin Heemeyer was known to have been a logical man, so it was expected that he would have taken the logical approach. Now, so I just want to cite this. This is from allthingsinteresting.com is the website. And I'm going to add some. I've watched this story. I've heard this story multiple times. So I'm going to add some things in as we go. But
I remember watching it live on TV on the news.
Yeah.
I can't believe I missed this somehow. I really can't.
So instead...
I don't want to say I was cheering him on, but...
I mean, everybody loves the bad guy, though, right? Everybody loves a good anti-hero story.
It's almost like Robin Hood, right?
It's like Robin Hood. It's like Deadpool. It's like Wolverine. It's like... It's an anti-hero. It's somebody... Oh, Venom. Venom.
Exactly.
It's my favorite one. We actually went over this.
Even the fascination with historical figures like Jesse James.
Yeah.
Like, there's always... I think that's an American culture thing where there's this fascination with that person that walks the line a bit.
I mean, this isn't fascination with American culture in general. Look at freaking Lexington and Concord.
Yeah. Bring
us your guns! Fuck you! Like, you know what I mean? This is American culture right here, is being the anti-hero. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what he did was, instead, Marvin Heemeyer went home, outfitted his
Komatsu
D3 5.5 Alpha bulldozer with armored plates, which were 5-inch thick steel, a layer of concrete and bulletproof plastic, and drove it through the town in a rampage, knocking down 13 buildings and causing $7 million.
In 2004, so 20 years ago, $7 million. Imagine what that rate is now.
Worth of damage with his makeshift Killdozer.
So now
this is the shocking story, or true story of Marvin Huemeyer's revenge.
So when I'm imagining him building this Killdozer thing, I don't know about you guys.
Go back to his picture for a second.
But he looks normal guy,
Looks like
right?
you.
He looks like he could have been at the meeting Thursday night.
He could have been, yeah.
Yeah.
He was at the barbecue. As a matter of fact.
Veteran,
Just a normal guy
Yeah.
wanting to mind his own damn
Businessman.
business and live his life.
yeah.
Looking at his picture, I know I don't have it up on the.
He looks like Greg Allman a little bit.
He does, right?
Kind of, yeah.
Slight Kevin Nash resemblance.
A little
too.
bit of big sexy there, yeah.
Going the wrestling,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I'm just gonna say, like,
Handsome guy, not
can-
weird looking or anything.
one of the I will say a trait of mine is being able to read people. I can read people. I'm very good at reading
You're a
people.
trained observer.
personalities.
Yeah.
Trained observer. I can read body languages
Yep.
and stuff like that. Again, this kind of came with
Your job.
my job,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
but also life. You tend to start to know who you want to fuck
Right.
with and who you don't want to fuck with. You
Just
know,
look at those eyes.
just looking at him. He looks like a nice guy, but he
But there's something in the
definitely
eyes.
has that eye that if you fuck with me,
There's a confidence
there's a confidence
behind
right?
that smile and that look.
There's a confidence, 100%.
He
This
reminds me
guy
of when my
seems
Uncle
like
Frank
definitely a
used to
guy.
smile like that and then be like, "Oh yeah, we're going."
This
bet."
looks like
Kind of does remind me of me. Him reminds me of myself.
he looks like you too. I'm just saying, if he went a little bit more beardish and a little bit more baldish,
we gotta retrofit
we'll color
the,
your eyes. We'll color your eyes, Frank.
Unfortunately, dark Irish brown.
Oh,
Which
okay.
I'm
I can't see
French.
from over here. I mean, he got blue eyes, so
I am French, but I have the Irish dark brown eyes.
All I gotta say is if we see Frank out there modifying the Ultima, like I don't know.
Which goes to my because
I'm just at Walmart in Naugatuck. I see Frank blah blah blah. Oh fuck, man.
well, the funny thing is I was born on a reservation in Nova Scotia, Canada, and I have a dual citizenship.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no shit.
I have a native name.
You're from Nova Scotia.
I'm a Scotian, or
Do you know what's going on at Oak Island?
yeah. Actually, I do.
Nothing.
Yeah, a whole lot of nothing.
They're on the wrong island. I'm just letting you know right now. But when I was born up there, my
I had a comment. I had a joke, but no,
Yeah,
I
just
can't.
go
I
for
can't.
it.
I can't. I can't.
my native
Listen,
name
where
in
is it, Epstein's
Canada
Island?
is Quiet Wolf.
What is it?
My native name in Canada on my birth certificate is Quiet Wolf.
Really?
Quiet
Yes.
Wolf. Interesting.
Very
That's how
apropos.
fitting is that? Yeah.
And my grandmother and my great-grandmother gave it to me, and I came down to the United States when I was 2.5 weeks old. My parents were both United States citizens. They were visiting family. So they were in Hamden, Connecticut. So when I came down here, the government didn't like the fact that I had a Canadian birth certificate. So I was reissued one out of St. Rayfield's Hospital.
Okay.
So that's how I wound up with my name that I hate. I go by Frank. And my last name's Bombardier. That they kept the French part.
I like Bombardier.
Well, that's how only in New England it's.
You sound like you belong in World War II. That's why I like it.
Yeah.
Bombardier.
Bombardier.
Well, that's actually my cousin's.
Hence Franky Bombs.
This guy definitely looks like, though, looking at his picture, he looks like somebody that you can go to the bar with, have a couple beers, but you definitely
You keep him at a distance.
don't want to piss him off while you're drinking.
Better as an ally than an enemy.
Hey, I was playing pool. Right? That's the dude that'll snap the stick over your fucking head.
Yeah.
No, he's the one that's gonna put the 8-ball over the top of your head and smash it.
But I just have visions of like an A-team video montage when they're welding all the like as he's doing this. You hear,
Exactly.
right? The welder, he's got the helmet on, or even like MacGyver putting stuff together. There's got to be a montage.
Or from, what the hell was that movie? Freaking, oh, God. What was that movie? It was like the cartoons and shit. America, fuck
Oh,
yeah.
was it Team America?
Team America, yes.
Yeah. I've got to say, there's got to be duct tape on that damn thing somewhere.
Oh, there's absolutely.
100%. All right, so let's continue. During the 1990s, Marvin Heidmeyer owned a small welding shop in town. That's what he bought the property for.
Right.
He
Correct.
wanted to make a little muffler repair shop.
Right.
Just a little slice of the American dream. He's retired from the Air Force. Just have a little business, a couple of people, nothing big.
Pretty sure that like his first year or so, he was pretty successful.
He was all right.
Yeah.
Where he made money living repairing mufflers. He purchased the land on which his shop was built in 1992. Over the years, he had agreed to sell the land to a concrete company to build the plant. So let's start with this. This is, I know they're kind of shortening this story, bro. So what happened was he bought this property.
It was at auction or something.
It was at
right?
auction, and he outbid the concrete company that wanted it.
Which was one of the most prominent
yes.
families in that town. Like,
I don't know.
everybody worked at this plant.
The last name slipped my mind, but I think it was a Granby or something like that. Was the
Granby's the town. It's like
Right.
I think it begins with the D, like Duchy. I don't know.
Douche or something like that.
or something.
I'm sure it'll come up.
Oh, it's douchey, all right. But the concrete guy came up to him afterward and was like, "Hey, I'll offer you $70,000 for that property," and he was like, "No." And he fucking left, went and started his freaking thing. And they later kept coming to him with offers. And then he was like, every time they offered him money,
He was like, no,
more.
I think at one point they offered him like 750,000 or something. He was like, no, million.
I'm good. So the negotiations hadn't been easy, but he'd been having trouble agreeing with the company on a suitable price. In 2001, the city approved the construction of a concrete plant zoning land next to Heidmeyer's for use. Heidmeyer was furious, and he'd used the land for the past 9 years as a shortcut between his home and the shop. So, yes and no. This is a little convoluted, but you probably watched the video that I watched.
Yeah.
The concrete plant was already there, okay? There was land over on the side that he was using, but the concrete plant didn't own it.
Correct.
It was just property that was there.
Nobody owned it at that time.
There was a road. There was an actual road that went up
road.
to this thing.
Yeah.
Well, what they did is they purchased the land that his vehicles were on, and then they went and blocked the fucking road off.
Right. Again, trying to make it
very difficult for him to do. So what he did was he bought this bulldozer,
Right.
and he made himself on a different road, in order to allow customers to come into his business. So that's where the birth of the actual bulldozer portion
Yes.
of it came from.
Yes.
He bought this bulldozer in order to make a new road because they were being assholes blocking the road off to try to basically corner him.
And I think in essence what happened was that property was not zoned for commercial use, which is why nobody had owned it prior.
Correct.
But you could access it, but this
the
concrete
zoning
plant,
guy
the zoning guy, I think he was somehow either
related or
like an
friends or something.
in-law of the people with the concrete company. So they
Correct.
changed the zoning laws so that the
So
concrete
they could
company could buy
buy
it
it.
and develop it to, again,
and
turn
they
the screws to
basically
this guy a little bit.
surrounded his property. now.
Correct. Right.
So he was kind of
They put
smack in the
a
middle.
moat of property
around it, and then blocked the road off that
Yeah.
had access to his one property.
It's kind of what's happening in Middlebury right now with that whole debacle with the distribution center for Amazon. Yeah.
Are we gonna have a Connecticut Killdozer?
No.
Fuck
Don't
yeah!
get any ideas. Remember when we said he's not a hero?
So anyway, he petitioned the city to have the property rezoned to prevent the construction of the plant, but he was rejected on multiple occasions. Again, we just talked about there was a guy, I don't know his name, and I could probably look it up later.
I think
but
his began with like an R or something, if I remember.
but
from
he
the
was
video.
Thompson was the guy
Okay.
on the board, but the family who owned the concrete was friends with him, or there were something along the lines. But his last name was, I believe, Thompson.
Okay.
Again, hashtag look it up.
Yeah, watch the video. It's very
I'm
entertaining.
reading an article here that doesn't have
If
any
memory
names in
serves
here.
me right, he might have been the husband of a cousin. Or
Yeah, something
like
along
Yeah.
those lines. But anyway,
And I think his father worked at the plant.
Yeah.
same situation. It's all small knit community.
Yeah.
Everybody knows each other. This concrete company was a big time company, and don't forget, big companies like that bring in what?
Cash.
Money,
It's all
cash
about
base,
Money.
employment.
Yep. A lot more than a little bullshit freaking muffler
company,
plant.
Right.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So, in early 2003, Marvin Heidmeyer decided that he had enough. A few years earlier, he had purchased a bulldozer with the intention of using it to create an alternate route for his muffler shop. I just said, yep. Now, however, it would serve a new purpose as his weapon of destruction, the Killdozer. So, before we get into what what he did was, another little fun fact is he continued to operate in this bulldozing thing. What ended up happening is now the city made this rule that he had to connect to city sewer.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. They changed the law again.
They changed the law
requiring him to.
Yeah, so he
hook up
couldn't have
to
a
it.
septic no more. Now he had to connect to city. The problem is that the line for the city went through the concrete companies.
Yep.
And he needed
property.
their permission
He
to hook
needed
up
their
to it.
permission, and they were like, "Fuck you."
And then I also believe that line was like a good mile
Yeah.
from his shop.
They
so
were gonna
even the
charge him-
cost.
What is it? They were going to charge him like $20,000 per half acre to go through.
Yes.
So they were basically trying to fuck him.
Yes.
They were trying to steal his money up.
They were
front.
making
They're
exactly.
making
They're just
extremely-
saying just sell the property. It's,
Yep, sell the
it's
property.
no value to you
It's no
anymore
value.
because
100%.
Yep.
Two things. One,
And the concrete company said no, you can't tie into our.
yeah. So I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I'm going to look at both sides of the story.
Are you really?
I am, because what the concrete company's doing, that's some vindictive shit that I would do.
Well, yeah. I mean,
That's some shit that I would do. But like, all right,
that's
cool.
what
You don't
all
want
the
some of the
big
property and you
companies do. Like,
I
if you
don't-
have
so
the
I
money,
respect it. I can understand from the concrete company's point of view is, so first off, I don't understand how he outbid a concrete company, unless the concrete company thought it was in the bag. It was like the eBay. Remember eBay when you'd auction on eBay?
Yeah.
And you'd get some prick at the last minute
That
would
was
show
me.
up and put in $1
Yeah.
and take the fucking bid. You're like, you son of a bitch.
I did that a lot.
You know what I mean? With the last 30 seconds of, like,
I
that's
would
the
actually-
only thing I can think of.
I would sync up my watch with the clock on my computer and know when there was exactly like 10 seconds left.
You're one of those.
And that's when I would pop it in.
What
Yep.
a
okay.
dick.
Hey.
Who we got?
Just want to say hello, good morning to everybody. Matt Gold Swizzle, Old Fashioned Podcast. Nice to have you. Zach Hess, James Bong, and Sean Stevenson. Hello, good morning.
And shout out to the Old Fashioned Masonic Podcast. That's the email Ken shot us this morning. They reached out to us talking about potentially doing a collaboration there.
Hell yeah!
They pride themselves on being Illuminati hunters.
Nice.
And actually get on Zoom calls and harass these people. So they'd like to come on and discuss their tactics.
Oh, I
swear to God. I swear to God.
When you guys do that, I want to.
Okay.
We've done that before too, though. We did it with Agent 47.
Agent 47 is still alive and well.
I love that. Absolutely. Yep. Reach out. If you're on here, reach out to me. Hit
like
me on
the fact-
Instagram. Give me a number. We'll talk.
I like the fact that Zach had his wife watch it.
Yeah, and even she said the other guys did the Killdozer guy dirty.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So, where the hell was I? All right. So anyway, that's to give you a little bit more of.
Yeah, we're talking about the dozer was bought for the alternative road.
Yep. I just wanted to just add that one thing about the because it doesn't really talk about the sewer line. That was pretty much that, and he kept saying, like, he kept going to him and saying, I can't afford this, I can't do this.
Right.
Can I just keep my septic? And they're like, no.
No.
So the town was fucking with him as well.
Absolutely.
So it was a collaboration of people who were just pushing this man to a
Absolutely.
breaking point.
Yep.
Now, mind you, he's an Air Force retired veteran. Guy just wants to be
Make an
live
honest living.
alone, honest living, left
Yep.
alone. Kind of ties into the Unabomber a little bit too. If
Yeah.
you've ever seen that, we can even
Yeah.
cover that on here as well. The Unabomber, and actually, which is funny, it's another anniversary. Unabomber died tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like last year, he died. 1 year
Xanathus.
ago tomorrow.
Yeah.
He got killed in prison, right? Like somebody.
No, he just
Oh,
died.
okay.
Died in
Died.
For
prison.
some reason, I thought he got wiped
Everyone
out.
left him
No,
alone.
we could cover that too as well. We could add the Unabomber into this one. We have plenty of time. So, but anyway, let's continue with this. Over the course of about 1.5 years, that's a long fucking time.
Yeah. Well,
to
you know
be
how
planning
long.
for this shit.
That's
Yeah.
you.
That is me. Slow play that bitch. Marvin Heidmeyer customized his bulldozer. It's a what you call it?
Komatsu.
Bulldozer for his rampage. He added armor plates covering most of the cabin of it, and the picture's still up there for everybody to look at if you're watching on YouTube. So half-inch steel. Half-inch steel will stop a high-powered rifle round.
Yeah, but on top of it, it was a double layer with concrete.
You put concrete in between.
Yeah.
You could have hit this fucker with an RPG and it probably would have punched through.
Yeah, my 308 wouldn't have gone through it.
No. He covered most of the cabin and the engine and the parts of the track. So he basically made it so that you'd have to put a fucking landmine down and he'd have to run it over.
Yeah.
Because you can't even shoot the tracks at this point.
Right.
And he created the armor himself using a concrete poured between the sheets of metal. You know how fucking heavy that thing must have been? That's like the what the hell was the Death Turtle or whatever that was, the tank that they made in World War II. You ever heard about this?
Yeah.
No, I thought you were talking about the the end of Animal House with D-Day.
No,
that's what I thought. Was that the Death Mobile?
That's funny. We said at the same time.
Yeah.
The one you're talking about from World War II was an encapsulated like a tank.
It was a tank that had double tracks on both sides. They couldn't. This thing couldn't go over bridges because it would. collapse
Yeah,
the
it was
bridge.
that heavy.
It was too wide too.
The thing moved at 10 miles an hour. Its sole purpose was to punch through the Maginot line.
Yep.
That was it. Just run shit over at 15 miles an hour, just laying hate and discontent.
Clearing the way.
Could you imagine being a poor German soldier? What the fuck is this? Like, that is not a King Tiger.
I don't think I soiled my pants. I know I did.
Ironically, the thing never actually made it to combat.
Right.
It never made it
ran
to
out of
combat.
gas.
But it's in a fucking warehouse somewhere. It's in like a museum now.
That's funny.
And it's funny
Probably
because
Smithsonian.
I don't know where it is, but
We can look it up.
What's it called? The Death Turtle?
it's
Yeah.
called Death Turtle or the Turtle Killer or something. It's Turtle something. You got to see this thing. This thing's wild.
Pulling it up now.
So, but anyway, funny story about that. It was somebody who was like hunting or walking in the woods. And could you imagine that phone call to the federal government? Oh, FBI. Hi, how you doing? Just want to let you know, there's a fucking giant tank in the middle of the goddamn woods. They found it in the woods, covered in brush. Just this giant megalith. The tank wouldn't fit in this room, Joe. It was that fucking
I'm looking
big.
at it. It's the T-95 tank, A.K.A. Death Turtle.
Death Turtle, right?
We're right. Yeah.
This thing
That
is
thing.
massive.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, here's another fun fact about this thing. They finally showed up with a tractor trailer. They got this thing out of the woods, right? And as they were rounding a turn, it flew off the tractor trailer and landed in a ditch. And they had to get this thing out of the ditch now.
I think it took when they pulled it out. I think it took 2 industrial bulldozers and to pull and 1 to push.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
How American is that shit, though?
Yep.
That's like the Germans who said the Maginot line, it's impregnable. You cannot, no troops can pass through this. And some American was out there was like, well, yeah, hold my beer.
Oh, that's
Right?
a cute
It's
little
like that-
turtle.
it's
Looks
like
like a
the-
cute little turtle. Oh, shit.
It's like the Japanese who were talking about the island of Tarawa. They're like, 500 militaries and 5 billion soldiers could not take this island. And here's the Marines like, hold my beer.
Yeah.
They showed up at 4,000 and took that bitch in like 4 days. Like
It's also affectionately referred to as the Doom Turtle.
the Doom Turtle.
Yeah.
That's the name. I
Both
was
come
looking
up,
for.
but the more common one I'm seeing now is Doom Turtle.
But so basically, in a sense, Mr. Heemeyer built a fucking Doom Turtle
Yep.
Maybe they told him to turtle it and he misunderstood.
out of a fucking bulldozer, and here we go. As the armor covered much of the cabin, a video camera was mounted on the exterior for visibility.
Yeah, so
This
he had a
dude's live
setup.
streaming this shit.
Right. Well, that's the way he could.
Just
There were no
fortunate
windows.
sun playing
Yeah.
in the background.
There were no windows.
It
So.
was also how he controlled it because he couldn't see outside through the.
Right. That's also how he targeted his rifles too. Which
Oh
was
my
good.
god, dude! Like,
Yeah.
I think Fortunate Son should have been playing in the background. He should have mounted speakers on this bitch and played Fortunate Son, right?
That throwing a little painted plaque.
Or the other one from Apocalypse Now. Dun, 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 dun,
The
dun,
Flight of the
dun,
Valkyries, yeah,
Flight of the
Wagner.
Valkyries.
Any of the Vietnam movie soundtracks. That's really what
Pretty
we're
much.
going for, yeah.
As the armored cover up to the cabin, a video camera is mounted on the exterior for visibility, covered by 3-inch bulletproof plastic. Inside the makeshift cockpit were 2 monitors which Heidmeyer could observe his destruction. There were also fans and an air conditioner to keep him.
He thought
This
so
dude
okay, so here this begs the question.
I'm sorry. I know we weren't grandizing this dude, but he's my fucking hero right now. I'm sorry.
But here's my question. Is this guy just like, and the answer might be both, just like engineer level intellect where he can make all this stuff, or what the hell did he actually do in the Air Force? That's the scary, like,
You'll never know.
right.
This dude was MacGyver. He built this
Right.
shit out of matchsticks.
But I'd like to know specifically what he was doing.
You're former military.
In the Air
right?
Force.
Yeah.
Are you former military?
No.
Okay. You have things you're not allowed to talk about to this day.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and some of those Air Force guys were more Marine than anything.
Yeah.
Like back in that
He
time.
seems like he'd be that kind of guy.
I don't know if there's things they can't talk about. There's more like things, operational things you really don't want to get into. Where the
Right.
whereabouts of like buildings are in Camp Lejeune, the whereabouts of where the armory is in Camp Lejeune.
Right.
Those are things. Obviously, you're not going to be like, oh yeah, just drop a pin right here.
Right.
Ignorant question. Does the Air Force have its version of like a special forces? Like
Yes, those
Okay.
are called paratroopers.
Oh, okay.
And they are gangsters. Fuck. They're
Okay.
like Navy SEALs.
I didn't realize
for the Air
paratroopers
Force.
were
Right,
part of
right.
the Air Force. Okay.
Every branch has its own thing. The Army's got Green Berets and
right.
stuff like
I
that.
just never. I've heard of
MARSOP
paratroopers
and all
but
that
didn't-
stuff.
Okay, that makes sense now.
Marines got Force Recon. Those guys are banana sandwich crazy. They used to be called STAY, which was Strategic Target Acquisition. I don't know if that's what they're called anymore, but they're basically Force Recon.
Okay.
Navy's got your obviously Navy SEALs.
SEALs,
They're
right.
world renowned, and yeah, Air Force got
Okay, that's
paratroopers.
it. Okay.
Air Force paratroopers.
The Air Force also has even a more elite group called Trailblazers,
Trailblazers, yes.
where they go in before everybody else.
Yes.
And
Okay.
they laser
They were
point.
big in World War II, and
Absolutely.
they had like a 52% death rate.
Yep.
Wow.
Like 1 out of every 2 were going to die. Because what they would do is they would land behind enemy lines before the paratroopers even came to mark where
where
the
to go.
paratroopers are going to land.
Gotcha.
Landing.
Hence the Trailblazers
And
there,
even
yeah.
more elite than the Trailblazers were the pilots for the Trailblazers. It was volunteer, and only 1/2% that volunteered were accepted.
And
So you
Space
had to be
Force,
elite.
Yeah.
Space Force has its own. And if you've ever played the game Doom from 1993 and read the story about that's basically them.
Yeah.
They make sure that
They are
they don't come through the.
They are
Never played Doom in '93.
I've never played, no, but I'm aware of it. I'm aware of it.
Read the Doom story.
I don't want to say they're insane, but they are
Didn't they make a movie?
mentally
It was terrible.
incredible.
And I'm sorry, even the games. I'm sorry, I'm kind of getting off on a tangent
That's
because
fine.
we're talking about Doom now. But even like the newer Dooms that are like remastered, they're nothing compared to the 1993 version.
But I'm guessing this guy had to be some type of special forces in the
I
Air
don't
Force.
think so. I think he was just.
You think he's just that smart?
Yeah. Let me tell you. All right. So hear me out, okay? Desperate times call for desperate measures.
Yeah.
The Viet Cong beat the shit out of the fucking U.S. military, and they weren't fucking intelligent. All they did was dig fucking holes and knew exactly what to do. You learn on the fly. You know what I mean?
But this guy's not like digging holes and carving punji sticks out of bamboo.
Well, kind of.
But if you're thinking about it from
he's making a tank from the
think
ground
about
up.
it from a point of view of you need to protect yourself.
Oh, I get it.
You're going to think of ways to protect yourself. What won't bullets punch through? Well, obviously, I'm not going to cover the outside of my tank with paper mache. I'm
Right.
going to. I mean, welding. Welding is an art. I'm sure he knew how to weld. He's a muffler guy. He knew how to weld.
Yeah, right.
But now it's like, I mean, if you're looking at it, be like, you're just thinking about it. Like he's had a year to plan for this
Well,
shit,
but
right?
that's still-
So he puts the 5-inch plate on, and he's like, "What if they show up with a rocket launcher?
Yeah, let me add some
This thing
concrete.
needs more steel. But you know what? Let me add some concrete.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh fuck! What if they shoot the tanks out? What if they shoot the tracks out?
Let me cover them.
I'm gonna cover them.
But if
What
you
if they
look-
go for the engine block? I'm gonna cover that bitch too.
Yeah, right.
Oh shit! How am I gonna see? Let me add
Also,
a camera.
he knew enough about angle and deflection too. If you look at
Yeah,
Yeah.
he made all.
it, it wasn't a straight box.
Right.
Everything was angled for deflection. And
Yeah.
everything.
right.
Yeah,
but I mean, that's just.
But it takes a certain level of intelligence and know-how Like I could go on a rager and want to seek revenge.
Not like a Jen's rager.
Right.
No.
But like he could have easily just gotten an automatic weapon and like started to shoot people. But he had the ingenuity to build something like this that he knew. I don't know. To me, it's just there's a higher level of ingenuity there.
I don't think his goal was to kill people.
No, he wasn't.
No, I think he wanted to
Here's
destroy
why.
buildings.
I'm saying, if you armor your ass up and you start walking around just shooting things, first off, bullets are only going to do so much damage.
Right.
Bullets will fucking pop windows. I mean, the other option you have is to buy. He wanted to fuck that concrete company, and he wanted to smash that building down.
Right.
And he wanted to go after everybody. He wanted to basically make that company lose money, and they lost $7 million worth of money
at that time.
He wanted to hurt them. He didn't want to kill them. He wanted to hurt their business.
Correct. He wanted to financially cripple them like he did to
He
them.
never targeted an individual. He never did any of that shit. He's not. This is where he's different than the Unabomber. He didn't want to hurt people.
Right.
He wanted to make it. Oh, you're going to take my livelihood away? Well, fuck your livelihood.
Right.
It's the Count of Monte Cristo.
It's
the Count of Monte Cristo, which is my favorite freaking book.
It's like the Terminator in Terminator 2, right? When he's in the window. What's his name? Edward Furlong says, "Don't kill nobody." Okay. But what did he do? He shot the shit out of every cop car in that movie. Right. He didn't want to kill anybody, but he wanted to make it hard for them to fight back. And that's pretty much what he did. He's like our Terminator.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say our. He's not.
Then he put the 50 caliber, the 308 semi-automatic, and the 22 long.
Oh yeah, Frank reading here. Yep.
I'm assuming to protect any repercussion that might.
He probably wanted to scare people off.
Right.
Let's be real. Like if you see a barrel coming out of a fucking window, like, fuck this, keep your head down, and it allows
him to continue to destroy things. Yeah,
because he was just building, destroying.
That's all he did. Yeah. He smashed buildings down. He ran over a couple cars.
Yeah, the next paragraph tells you exactly what he...
that's right.
So let's continue. Finally, he fashioned 3 gun ports and outfitted them with a 50 caliber rifle, a 308 semi-automatic, which is slightly smaller than a 50 caliber, and a 22 long rifle, which is just a plinking gun.
Yeah, but the 308's also a sniper style setup. Depending on what one it was. But anyways.
50 caliber and a 308 will punch through property, no fucking problem. You're not shooting a person with a 50 caliber because that will turn into what's called baloney mist.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, I got hang now. 22 long rifle, will it kill somebody? Yes.
Yes.
However, the probability of you living from a 22 is a lot better than a 308.
Well, yeah.
So I think the way he said, because I mean, if you wanted to kill people, you're going 223 556. You're going 300 blackout. You're going 12 gauge shotgun. You're going 9mm. You're doing those are anti-personnel people, right? 22 really is an anti-person round. Right. That's more of like a, you fucker, you shot me in the leg. Let me stitch this up real quick and go to the hospital.
I mean, hell, they use that on Hilti guns when you're shooting into concrete. They use a 22.
You're shooting rabbits. You're shooting vermin. That's what a 22 was originally made for.
Right.
50 caliber and 308, however.
That's a little different.
So anyway, according to authorities, once he sealed himself inside the cockpit, it would have been impossible for him to get out. This was his hill he's dying on.
Yes.
Yeah. And he literally welded himself inside.
Yep. They don't believe he ever wanted to. Yeah, he had no. I mean, you fucked his livelihood. You fucked his life up. He's probably hemorrhaging money at this point, right? Because he's not gonna. He's got to pay fines. They fined the shit out of him.
Yeah. Well, and here's the other thing too. I want to add 2 things. I want to add to this. One, he had already given away all his property and assets to his family, so it was gone.
Now,
they couldn't go after him, his estate. He had already. So there was nothing they were going to be able to do. The other piece about him welding himself in, at one point in the video that you shared, a cop made it to the top of the tank and tried to open it and realized it was welded. It was like, oh shit, and like ran the hell out of there.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, okay, this is something different now. They were calling in airstrikes on this guy.
They had Javelin missiles.
Yes.
They were like, they called in, what was it, freaking Cobra attack helicopters or Apache helicopters. They had fucking Javelin missiles. Like, these things punch through T-72s
but that's
like
what they
a
would
hot
have had
knife
to do
through
to take it
butter.
out.
Yeah, if he...
Which, just in a nod to a Connecticut business, the helicopters are made right here in Stratford.
I mean, so if you sit here and think like, oh, the U.S. military will never go against its own This is a prime case right here.
Well, yeah.
The military will do what it's got to do to protect the government and protect the freaking, the property of the establishment. This fucking guy.
And second reference in one podcast, look up Kent State.
Yeah, there's so many stories. I mean, Waco, Texas, another perfect example of the government. They showed up at fucking Bradley's.
Yeah.
Like, U.S. government going to do what the fuck is going to do. If you don't think the U.S. military won't be used on its own civilians,
are you guys old
you
enough
are high.
You guys old enough to remember watching the Kent State coverage on news?
No.
That's something you guys want to watch.
That was
that was sad.
Was that late 60s? 69?
That was the Kent State shooter who was in the clock tower, right?
It was it wasn't a shooter. It was the National Guard.
I'm talking about when Reagan opened up the National Guard on the sit-in.
Oh no, I thought that was talking about the guy who was in the. There was another.
Well, the clock tower is where the National Guardsmen were set up and took out protesters.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
They gave the order to. Well, there's now conflict over was there an order.
So when
or
you
not,
get some fucking drooling idiot shitting his pants all that they're saying, oh, if you want to take on the government, you need F-15s with Hellfire missiles. Nope, you just need a bulldozer.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, freaking armed citizens with pitchforks and muskets. They did a pretty good job against the strongest military in the world at the time, which was at the prime of their thing. So anyway, moving on.
We digress.
I digress.
But look how he left the shop. That last paragraph I thought.
Oh, we got to do the other one.
When his Killdozer was finished, he readied himself for his attack, and on June 4th, 2004, he sealed himself inside the cockpit and set out for Granby.
Hello, here we come.
Here we go. He drove the machine out of his shop through a wall, then wait.
Yeah, so he didn't use the door.
Hold on, let me read that again.
Yeah. No,
he drove the machine out of his shop through the wall.
Yeah. He's like the fucking Kool-Aid man coming through.
He's like, well, let's test and make sure this shit ain't going to go tits up before we get off the ground. He drove through the fucking wall of the shop.
Yep.
Like there's no overhead door that he's hitting a button on. He's just like, fuck it, go through the wall.
Then plowed through the concrete plant, the town hall, the newspaper. Oh, so the newspaper, they smeared this guy also. They said he was a piece of shit and he was being stubborn and blah, blah, blah. A former judge's widow's home, a hardware store, and other home. I mean, the hardware store. That's where he bought all of his shit to build this thing. Why would you? I mean, guess destroying evidence. Anyway, and other homes. Authorities later realized that every building had been bulldozed had some connection to Heemeyer. Oh, every building that had been bulldozed had some connection to Heemeyer and his lengthy battle against the zoning committee.
And the houses were members of the zoning committee.
Right. So.
I don't know why the hardware store. I don't remember that connection. But
so, I
probably
just
the
want to
guy
say,
that owned it was.
I need everyone to close their eyes real quick. Just imagine you're just the guy. Just I don't know. Let's say you're up on the scaffold and you're just mixing this concrete, right? You're just doing your job, and all of a sudden you hear this loud boom, and you look over to the right and you see what's on our screen now. On driving
Killdozer,
at the fucking concrete plant that you're like just up there puffing a cigarette, like.
Oh.
What the fuck?
Break. I'm going on break.
You just hear the time clock go as you're punching your card, and he hits this concrete plant. Like,
insane.
Holy shit. Or the guy at the hardware store be like, oh, yeah, here you go, Mr. Grady. Here's your screws that you... What the fuck? There had to have been a lot of what the fucks in Jesus Christ that day. Oh man, just some guy sitting in his kitchen, or excuse me, just some because he said it was Holmes he hit too, right?
Yeah,
who was connected. Just sipping his morning coffee, reading the newspaper. You just hear like, oh, somebody must be doing some work outside, and just half your house gets sheared off, and you're still sitting at the coffee table like. Holy shit.
Yeah, still holding the cup of coffee, but the table's gone.
The authorities, though authorities tried to destroy the vehicle multiple times, the Killdozer proved resistant to small arms fire and resistant to explosives. Oh, shit. They brought in explosives.
Yeah, they probably brought in, mines, like you said.
I don't know if local authorities have... heavy explosives such as grenades or det cord or anything like that.
No, they do have det cord.
Det cord, they do have det cord?
Yeah, for breaching.
For breaching. That's what I'm wondering if maybe they tried to use det cord on the side, like stuck some sticky det cord on the freaking wall and then step back and tried fucking popping it, but clearly it didn't do shit. Could you imagine being the cop sitting there popping off your freaking service pistol? And you'll hear is ting, 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 ting.
Yeah, that's all you would
ting,
hear.
ting, ting,
And the thing's just rolling.
unfazed.
Go back into the time when the grease socks, when you put the grenade in the grease socks and stick them on the side of them.
Oh, the sticky bombs. Sticky
bombs.
bombs. Indeed, the rounds fired at the tractor during the rampage had no ill effect. For 2 hours and 7, this dude went on a 2-hour rampage.
Yep.
I just picture myself as him sitting in the tank, just working the curls, be like, did I leave a stove on?
I don't think I brought enough cigars.
For 2 hours and 7 minutes, Marvin Heidmeyer and his Killdozer pummeled through the town, damaging 13 buildings and knocking out gas services to City Hall. Such a panic ensued that the governor considered authorizing the National Guard to attack with Apache helicopters and an anti-tank missile. Those are the javelins I was talking about. The attacks were in place, and had Heidmeyer not wedged himself into the basement of a store, they would have been carried out. All right, so...
Yeah, so he got himself stuck at one time.
He got himself stuck. So what he tried doing, from what I can tell from the video that I sent you, it looked like what he tried doing was driving parallel into the wall so that he would eat an entire wall and collapse the building on its side.
Right, yeah. He was like skimming the front.
Skimming the front of the building in order to take down the front of the building. What he didn't realize, though, is by doing that, he got not only the foundation wedged underneath, but now the roof collapsed on top of him. And he was basically sandwiched in between the foundation and the roof of this building. And you could see he was trying to throw it in reverse and forward and reverse, and he was just stuck. There was no other options. He's now what we call fucked. Like, there's
stuck
nowhere
in
to
the Alabama mudstorm. Yeah.
He's stuck in. Yeah, exactly. He's stuck. He can't go anywhere. This is it. He's jammed up. What do you do in that situation? So, obviously, he ain't getting out the goddamn thing.
Right. He never intended to get out.
Never intended to go. But what the authorities had said, and I'm going to read the finished article, but there was a sound of a single gunshot.
Yep. There's the picture.
There's the picture of. Oh, that's what he did to the vehicle. That's a truck that's literally jammed. And again, if you go on allthingsinteresting.com, Marvin-Heidmeyer-Killdozer, you can see all these images, and they're freaking wild. You know what's crazy to think, though, that it's only 2004.
Yep.
Like, that really, I mean,
20
I know
years ago.
some fucking millennial or Gen Z out there will be like, you're old, man. Somebody out there going to talk some shit, but if you really think, it wasn't that long ago.
No.
I mean, we could say the same thing about September 11th and, you know, the Berlin Wall coming down. We can be like, that wasn't that long ago. And then you think back, you're like, oh, shit, I am old. But it really, 2004 wasn't that long ago. I mean, I don't even know if iPhones were out then.
No.
2004? No. Probably, maybe a BlackBerry I had at the time.
Yeah.
I had a Nextel.
Nextel. I remember.
Oh,
those things.
with
I
the
missed
two-way
that
talk
thing.
thing?
No, I hated that fucking thing because I had one for work, and you'd be standing in the freaking line for
Everyone can hear it.
everyone.
It's
Yeah.
Because I didn't have the on. It would just. But like somebody like it's the modern day of like the
It's a
TikTok
walkie-talkie.
videos where it's like, oh yeah, they do that shit.
Yeah.
I'd get somebody like I'd be in Dunkin' Donuts and I'd hear man, somebody be fucking me like I'm like
That would be
turn
Danny
my phone
Sharkus.
off. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God,
Making weird sex noises and stuff while you're standing in the bank line or something. Yeah, that's the shit, the shenanigans that went on with Nextel. As Marvin Heidmeyer attempted to bulldoze Gamble's hardware store, well, he took a gamble on it.
Yep.
He accidentally got the Killdozer stuck in the foundation.
Yep.
With the end clearly in sight, Heidmeyer killed himself with a gunshot to the head in his cockpit, determined to avoid capture and leave the world on his own terms.
And I think that was his plan regardless.
That's
Absolutely.
gangster shit.
Yeah.
I'm going out my way.
Exactly. Once he sealed
Fuck
himself
you
in there,
and your bullshit. I'm
he-
going
Yeah,
my
he was
way.
choosing how he wanted to do it.
You think he was playing Sinatra at that point? And
No,
now
playing Sex
the
Pistols.
end is near.
The Sex Pistols version. I love that one. Oh, God.
We should play that.
Despite, I'm gonna have Ken do. I'm gonna have Ken stitch it into the leaving credits of the when we on the audio.
That would be cool. Yeah. But it's got to be the Sex Pistols
I did it
version.
Yeah,
my way.
Despite the nearly 7 million.
Despite the nearly $7 million in property debt, that is fucking. You want to look this up? $7 million worth conversion in 2004. In property damage done to the town of Granby, not a single human besides Heidmeyer was killed during the rampage. He, again, like as I said,
that was his plan.
He had no intention of hurting anybody. He just wanted.
He had intentions of hurting people
Financially.
Yes, because that's what they did to him.
So $7 million in 2004 is the equivalent of $11,650,689.09.
I could build yeah.
So it almost doubled.
That is bananas. This is largely because the reverse 911 system was used to notify residents of the Killdozer so that they could get out of the way on time. I don't believe that.
No, me neither.
I'm sure it was used.
But he was never as intention
and I'm sure
to
it was
physically harm anybody.
I'm curious to see if June 4th, 2004 was a Sunday.
I don't know.
To see, because maybe businesses weren't open. And
Went to church first. Put some money in the basket.
No, it was a Friday.
It was a Friday.
They were genning it. Sorry, Ken.
Oh man. Yeah, so I believe sure that 911 reverse 911 system was to tell everybody to keep the fuck away.
Right.
But I don't think he had the intention of hurting anybody to begin with. But of course they're gonna fucking sauce it up like, oh my god, this guy's a nut, he's trying to hurt residents. Bullshit. He didn't want to hurt residents. He had specific goals in mind. If he was out to hurt somebody, he would have just mowed the whole fucking town down. He went for specific targets.
Yeah.
And he went for the buildings.
Very strategic, very calculated.
I mean, he got think about this in terms of if you wanted to hurt somebody. He got a 50 cal, a 308, which are rifles. They're not semi-automatic. They're typically bolt action. Would you say, right? 50 caliber to 308.
My 308 that fell in the river and I can't find it. But,
got lost in a boating accident.
Literally went down with the boat.
It's on an AR platform. Oh, that's an A10 platform, right? AR10.
Yeah, it's semi-automatic.
Semi-automatic. Okay, but for the most
of them are lever.
Most of them are lever action,
bolt action.
and you're not going to shoot somebody with a 308, right? 308 is for distance.
If I was going to shoot someone, if hypothetically it would be a long distance shot.
That's a long distance shot. My point is that's not a AT&T as I call it, up close and personal. Reach out and touch.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I me? That's up close and personal.
That's where the 22 was.
That's where a 22, a 223, a 5.56 round,
or
a
even
7.6
9mm, maybe
7.62, 9mm. Those are your typical your up close and personal things. So what I'm saying is, if that was the case, he would have had one of those rifles, an AR-15. And, I mean, he's in Colorado. I don't know what the laws were back then. But let's also be clear, contrary to popular belief, you can get automatic rifles in the United States. You have to have a tax stamp. You have to have a special licensing form, but you can get them.
Absolutely.
If he wanted to, quote, unquote, and he had a year to do it, too.
Or he could have built one himself. He was a smart man.
Yes.
He could have built one himself.
He could have modified something, absolutely.
I mean, realistically, you could modify your AR-15 to fire automatic.
Not that we're advocating that.
Not forever advocating that. It's highly illegal. Do not do that.
Yes.
I mean, even back then, you had bump stocks. My point being is he could have drove that dozer, fully plated, into the front door of that thing with a gun port in the front and his cameras and just started lighting people the fuck up.
Right.
Yeah, that's not what he wanted.
Do that. That wasn't his intention to do.
And I like the...
I just want to also say, we're not advocating for anybody to do any of this shit.
No. We're just pointing out...
We're pointing out that he did not intend to kill people. He intended to hurt them financially.
Yes.
That's what he was after.
Yeah.
You're going to shut down my muffler shop. You're going to make my land worth ain't shit. You're going to take away my livelihood. Fuck you. I'm knocking your concrete plant down. Fuck you. We're knocking down your hardware store.
Right.
Pick up all those screws that fell out of the bin.
Yeah.
He's making it uncomfortable for people.
Absolutely.
That's what his goal was. All right. After the dust settled, authorities searched Heidmeyer's home and found notes and audio tapes that outlined his motivations. They also learned that several men who had visited Heidmeyer's shop didn't seem to notice the Killdozer, which encouraged Heidmeyer to move forward with his plans. Okay.
I call BS on that, but...
Yeah, I didn't know. Come on, how do you come on.
Now, mind you, he could have tarped it and said it was broken.
Well, that could.
I put a tarp on it. I don't want the birds getting inside the garage,
okay.
and I don't want this shit all over the place. And his shop wasn't small; it was a decently sized industrial.
Obviously, to put a D10 dozer in there was pretty good size.
I mean, he could have tarped it. He covered.
Right.
He could have. You know what I mean? I'm saying it's possible he could have camouflaged it.
I think there are also maybe some people that were sympathetic to his cause, or just never thought he'd be crazy enough to actually do it.
It could have been also a novelty thing. Hey, look what I'm building. I'm building myself a tank. That's some cool shit. You know what I mean?
I do heed the. Or not heed. I disagree with the statement of crazy.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. But I think some people might have thought, oh, yeah, he'll never do it.
No, I'm just saying, I don't think he was crazy. I'm
going to agree with that.
I think he was pushed to the point.
He was motivated.
He was motivated.
He was motivated, is what he was.
Crazy.
Yeah.
See, this, and I agree with Frank on this, but I know you were just making a pun on that.
Right.
But crazy people do things that's irrational behavior.
Right.
Everything that he did was calculated,
very calculated
and with
and
purpose.
rational. Right.
So, if you want to say people drove him crazy, meaning they pushed him to a point of, I have no other options.
Right. No, that's why I say motivation.
So I want to be clear. He wasn't
mentally ill.
He wasn't mentally ill, but did it drive him to a point of mental insanity? Probably.
That I will agree with.
Stress, yeah.
So if you want to call that crazy, 100%. They drove him to a point that his stress level got so much, he said, "It's fuck this shit o'clock.
Not worth it.
Let's roll."
Yep.
You know what I mean?
You're right.
As for Marvin Heidmeyer's Killdozer itself, state officials decided to take it to the Smithsonian. I'm kidding, they didn't do that. They said to take it apart and sell it for scrap. I think they should have kept the fuck out.
Absolutely.
Well, I think the next sentence, and I found this weird when I was watching the video. It's like when one of the Friday the 13th, they finally killed Jason and they chopped him up and like buried his body parts in different places in order to keep him from coming back. Well, that's what they did with the Killdozer.
Yeah. Okay.
They sent the pieces to dozens of scrapyards to stop admirers of Heidmeyer from snatching a piece. As soon as it became clear that the Killdozer was going to be subject of fascination. Yeah. It's no different than Jesus' garbs, right? They ripped them all up and
they're relics.
They're relics, right? I think that's bullshit. They should have took that thing. They should have put it in the Smithsonian and be like, it's American ingenuity right there. Again, we're not condoning this or saying that this guy's a hero, but I fucking love him. Indeed, in the years after the rampage, Heidmeyer became a controversial folk hero in certain circles. Every circle! With some believing that hold on, I just want to pull this page down real quick. Some believing that he was the victim of a town government that didn't think twice about hurting local businesses. Yeah! Government! Take warning! Enough said on that.
Actually, my wife said, "Keep going, guys. It's fascinating."
That's awesome.
She's
hi, Ms. Bombardier.
Hello.
She's actually in redoing her pistol permit class now.
Nice.
Because of
lapsed.
They changed it to certificates only good for a year now.
Oh yeah.
Which she is disagreeing with and trying to fight.
Well, I'm an ARA instructor. The certificate itself is not
valid.
No, the certificate doesn't. It lasts forever.
That's not.
There's no expiration on my end. It's on the
government.
The government's end.
Right. So she's doing it to pacify just because of this July thing going on.
Yep. What's on July?
They're tripling the cost of getting your license now, as of July 15th.
Oh, really?
I'm not kidding you.
Thankfully, mine just renewed. Yeah. Mine renewed in June.
No, the renewal's not bad. It's to get your initial. But anyways, I digress. Sorry.
Time for a Killdozer. On the other hand, and this is okay. So I just want to say real quick here. Okay, this is what, and again, we're talking about mental health, right? And we're talking about that every action has an equal and opposite reaction, correct?
Yeah.
They pushed this guy to the brink. He built the Killdozer and mowed down half the fucking town.
Right.
When you fuck with somebody mentally, they're gonna the reaction you think you're going to get might have an opposite reaction. There's a point, right? Where you push somebody too far and they say, fuck it, okay? While we're talking about this, you're raising the price of not only guns, but ammunition, but also license, everything. And then they're like, we're going to need to stop ghost guns. You have 3D printers coming out that can build frames for these fucking things. And all it takes is a freaking 16-year-old in a CAD class with a freaking...
16-year-old.
I'm just saying, all it takes...
My cousin's son in Texas did 4 of them, and he's 9.
So now you're trying to stop...
Allegedly.
You're trying to stop legal guns, but guess what you're doing?
Cosplay.
By all this extra bullshit that you're doing, you're creating an environment where people are going to say, well, fuck it. I'm going to make my own.
Right.
Yeah. And you're going to make...
Equal and opposite reaction.
This
Goes with registration. This goes with having a freaking universal background checks. This goes with a national registry. You're going to create where people are going to say, I ain't registering shit. I'm just going to make my own. It ain't going to have any tags on it. You're never...
I don't want to get into the whole Second Amendment.
I know. I'm just saying this kind of goes... Keep pushing, motherfuckers. I made a potato gun when I was a kid. I shot that bitch 400. It shot half-sized watermelons. The mini watermelons. I made one that was so strong, it shot a half a watermelon 400 yards. If you pulled that shit today...
Oh, God. I mean, I had wrist rockets
and I
all
did
that
it
shit.
with a grill ignition lighter and a can of hairspray and a PVC pipe.
I believe it.
Better today, they now have air guns with silencers. Excuse me. Air projectiles with silencers, which are not guns.
Do you know that when we shot this thing, this watermelon, it sounded like a howitzer piece of field artillery.
I believe it. Yeah.
Anyway, I digress. Moving on. Don't make potato guns or watermelon launchers.
Yeah, don't do that.
All right. Indeed, years after the rampage, Heatmiser became a controversial folk hero in certain circles, with some believing that he was a victim of a town government that didn't think twice about hurting local business. Just read that. On the other hand, some have pointed out that he initially agreed to sell his land, and more crucially, that he could have easily killed innocent people during his attack if they hadn't got out of the way on time. Bullshit on that second statement. No,
well, I am calling bullshit on the first statement.
Right, exactly.
If he agreed to sell and changed his mind, that's his prerogative.
Right? It doesn't.
It's also his prerogative if he backs out of the deal.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
But
if he backs out of the deal and there's nothing signed, that's his right to do that.
I mean, realistically speaking, he bought it at an auction, which is significantly fucking lower.
Right. Yeah.
When you buy things at auction, it's significantly lower than the property value.
Correct.
Or the price value, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
If you buy, that's why you go to an auction, is to get shit cheaper than what you would have paid for it.
Right.
So now when he finally got the property, he probably did a freaking book value on the property and realized, oh shit, this is worth a hell of a lot more than they're offering me.
Right.
Fuck that. I don't want that much money.
Right.
Well, now the company's going to come back and go, oh, fuck you. Now you
We
want
had
to
an
back out of it?
agreement.
We
No,
had
you
an
didn't.
agreement.
Yeah, because they would honor
it's
a
worth
handshake
more.
agreement.
It's not even that he backed out of it. The negotiations stalled.
Right.
He
Right.
didn't back out of it.
They couldn't agree on a price.
Right.
He agreed to sell it.
Came to that point.
Yeah.
On the same note, let me also say it would probably piss me the fuck off if I just got something on auction, I'm excited about it, and the person I was auctioning against came up and was like, after the auction, was like, well, I'll offer you $70,000. Oh, I paid $64,000 for it. I don't want $70,000. I just bought the property. Can I just look at my fucking property for 5 minutes?
And not for nothing, why didn't you up it? Well, like you said, they might have snaked him out at like eBay.
In the end, Heatmiser left the world believing that God had asked him to undertake his rampage. Funny thing about God. We can get into that whole debacle of God and doing what's right later. I mean, we can go to Texas, Waco, Texas. I mean, that was a whole God thing, too.
We'll leave that for a
different day. Perhaps the most revealing note that he left behind was on one note. I was always willing to be reasonable until I had to be unreasonable. Sometimes reasonable men must do unreasonable things.
And that
fucking mic drop right
and
there.
that, to your point, proves that he wasn't crazy.
No.
He just got pushed too far.
But that following statement, go back to that statement.
Oh shit, I closed it out.
No.
The statement. You want me to read it again? I can remember off.
I got it.
Okay.
That reasonable men are sometimes pushed to do unreasonable things. Is how this country was founded.
Absolutely. Yep. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's where I think it's just in our DNA as a country that you see something like this, there's a certain level, I don't want to say admiration, respect, understanding. We, hey, all right. And that's how he can sometimes, certain circles, reach folk hero status, because depending on that level of understanding and whether or not you've had personal experience where you've been wrong like that, you may be more sympathetic or like understanding how he got to that point. None of us are condoning it, but we can all understand it.
Right.
You know what pisses me off about the whole...
The founding fathers of this country were all deemed the same way, but as traitors.
Right.
I mean, traitor...
They'd be called terrorists today.
Exactly. But...
To the victor go the spoils, as the saying goes.
Exactly.
I just want to say, you know, one thing that pisses me off about Aftermath news articles, okay? That one wasn't bad. That was pretty straightforward, and it was pretty... You know, they told the story... you know, they told what people felt that, oh, he was on a rampage and blah, 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 blah. But you know what pisses me off is they don't see it from the other end of things, of pushing people to their breaking point, right? They don't talk about the whole other aspect of this. All this could have been avoided.
Right.
They just want to talk about, oh, my God, he's crazy. He's out of his mind. You know, that's the problem. Is we talk about the actions of the man, of what he did on that day. We talk about the actions that men have taken that make them, in the eyes of society, a piece of shit or a scumbag or a fucking asshole. But we're not going to talk about what led up to.
Right, the year and a half, 2 years of being screwed with.
Right.
And with your
we're
livelihood
not talk about
being
the time
screwed with.
beforehand
Right.
when you fucked with this man and you constantly fucked with him.
I will say the video that you sent does a pretty good job telling you of every step of what he did, what they did to respond, what he tried to do, how they shut another door on him, what he tried to do, they shut another door on him and made it as difficult as possible.
Where's my pajone? I can actually...
Everybody...
I'll bring up the video.
Everybody in the comments is just, you know, they're talking about the guns and this and that.
Yep.
The whole thing about what happened to this man was almost like the Chinese water torture, just drip, 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 drip.
And that's where, you know, to get into our overall. Go ahead, Joe.
Real quick, I just want to give the YouTube video, because this is what me and Joe watched. It's called The Killdozer, Rampage of 2004, and it's by Popo Medic, which is kind of ironic and funny.
I watched that one.
Popo Medic. Watch that video, and he does a fantastic job. Hats off to him. He did a fantastic
job. Very factual, too. He just states facts, no
right
opinion.
Down the middle, he talked about the back and forth. He talked about the ping pong game that was played.
Right.
You know, the negotiations halted. So what they did was they bought the property next to him. They kicked him the fuck out, and they even dropped the names of the guys who fucked with him.
Right. Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Then
and
they
stated their connection, and they're stating it as fact.
He took the high road, built himself a new road, being that they blocked off that road. Then what they did was like, oh well, okay, fuck, he got us. He built a new road. Let's go after the sewers. Like they talk about, and this is what I'm talking about. We talk about this man who is, he's crazy. He knocked the whole town down. We're not addressing what fucking led up to this guy finally flipping his entire fuck and losing his mind.
And it was their abuse of power, their abuse of government.
100%. The more you fuck with people, they're going to, you're not going to get the reaction you think you're going to get. They expected this man to capitulate and go, okay, take my property, leave it. And they probably would have offered him pennies on the dollar at this point because we offered you 70,000. It's how many years later?
Now.
We're gonna offer you 10,000 now. Yeah. And they would have stuck it up his ass, and he would have lost all of his fucking livelihood.
Right.
And that's what they were planning on doing.
Absolutely.
That's exactly what they were planning on doing. So I'm gonna give away to my family and friends what I have left, because he lost tons of money.
Right.
They shut his business down for a period of time.
Yep.
He had to spend money on a bulldozer in order to make a new road. Now they're fining him for the sewer. Now they're fining him for zoning this and zoning that. And on top of that, you want me to pay of the money that he lost tons of money.
Yeah.
So you know what? Instead of me losing more money, I'm just gonna give it to my family and friends. I'm gonna armor this bitch and I'm gonna fuck their shit. I'm gonna get my money back in the damage I'm gonna cause.
Right. That's exactly
what he did.
Right.
Yep.
That's my whole pitch on this men's mental health thing. All right,
push your man to a certain thing,
And I'm not saying women can't do the same thing. I'm saying, but there's a fundamental difference between men and women. Women are emotional creatures. Men are not. We bottle that shit up inside.
Right.
No, we're emotional. We're not
outwardly.
We're emotional.
No, we're not socially. It's not socially accepted to discuss mental.
1,000%.
We were talking about that before we started recording.
Which I think this whole Killdozer leads into. Socially, we're not allowed to discuss how we're feeling.
And that starts at a very young age. Like,
And
just
then-
think when you're called, like if you show any emotion as a kid at 8 years old, 9 years old, that early, you're a crybaby,
Yeah,
or,
sissy
you know,
and all
sissy.
that,
Now there's other words that would be used, but it's ingrained in you from a very young age. You're not allowed to cry. You're not allowed
It's not
to
even
cry.
at a young age. Even now, to this day, women are like, I want a man. I want a man. Right? And what does that mean? That means shutting the fuck up and just doing what you need to do.
Right.
Be a man. Be tough, right? But men do it to each other, too. Right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Ah, man, I'm just feeling down. I'm feeling sad today.
We shame each
Stop
other.
being a bitch.
Right.
Rub
Yeah.
some dirt on it.
Right. Well, that's
Man the fuck up. That's another one. Cowboy up. Like, these are all things that men do to each other, too.
Right. My thing growing up in the '60s was, hey, stop being a little bitch. Your
Yeah.
sister wears a skirt, you don't.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's that, and I can literally still remember that.
That's from a
And
very
if
early
you
age.
cried,
Right.
it wasn't I'll give you a reason to cry.
Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah.
This is now you got
Yeah.
slapped, hit, whatever. Now you're crying, bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to
And
cry,
this-
I'll give you a reason to cry.
This
I got
is
it.
from my father. This is from my grandfather.
I mean, one of my favorite lines that
I'd even get that from my mother. If you give me a
Myself,
reason to
too.
cry, yeah.
My mom was
one of my favorite lines was, and it was actually said to be from another. When I was a mechanic, I was actually trying to hammer off a rotor that was stuck on a hub or whatever, and all you heard him say, "Go hit it with your purse."
yeah.
Yeah.
But again, and then you're being
Well, look at what what Ken's going through this morning.
yeah, he's called Jen.
Yeah.
Who's Ken?
But like we do that.
Oh, perfect segue, Joe. That was
But it's like
slid that right in there.
but it's like but that's how we're conditioned. So that's when you bottle things up and you hold on to them for years,
Yeah.
sometimes decades. Eventually, very small
eats you.
percentage of people are able to just continue to suck it up, compartmentalize it, and put it away. It will eat at you slowly and slowly to the point where, you know, it may start to make you think differently. It may make you start to think about things
Or not give a
and
fuck.
go to depths that you weren't prepared to go to
Or not
before.
think at all. That could be the opposite of
Right.
that, too. I'm just going to act. Fuck
Right.
it. I don't give a shit.
I mean, and it's just
In those people who are, if I may,
Yeah,
sorry,
go.
I mean, those people that are doing that terrorizing type shit to people, you know, you need to stop and you need to think, like, what am I doing to this person?
right.
Because, yeah, he might not be showing how he's feeling. You know, maybe they close down. They just stop talking. I'm not going to talk no more.
Right.
There's no point talking. You're not listening. I'm not going to talk anymore. I'm just going to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to understand, you're fucking with people's heads.
When I start to shut down, I go very silent.
Seriously.
Me too.
I go very silent, and you won't know until I'm ready to pop
Yeah.
that anything's going on. Yeah, there was when I was directing the farm degree quite a few years ago for Ashler Aspetuck. It was very stressful. And sometimes dealing with Masons is not the easiest of things to do. They don't always take good direction.
Lot of ego.
Yeah.
Lot of egos too.
So
Yes.
I had Worshipful Master, Worshipful Brother Mark Zuccarella down at Ashler Aspetuck. Him and his another brother, Craig Gray, both are now deputy chiefs down at Greenwich PD. At one point, they pulled me aside and said, "You need to relax." I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Sorry.
He said, "I'm like, what are you talking? Fine." They're both like, "No, you're not. You're ready to pop, and we can both see it," because they were in that trained observer mode,
Right.
And they knew I was about to lose my shit before I even recognized it. But it was like, okay, let's take a step back.
Yeah.
If they had said nothing, oh no, I probably would have said, at the very least, said something that I probably look back on and go, "Man, I wish I never did that," or "I wish I didn't say
The
that."
problem is, like myself, and you've somehow been able to pick up on it. I don't even know when it's going to happen. I just pop.
Yeah.
It's
It's
bad. I mean,
that's
I
the
think-
beauty of our fraternity, though, because we do have an outlet, and we do have that layer of trust and even secrecy, because you and I have talked about things. But as your brother, you're confiding in me and telling me certain things. I'm not going to go run and blab that to anybody else. But you know you have somebody, and we've built a relationship over that.
Unless there's somebody that you know can help with that.
Right. Right.
And you're good about that.
But
I'll get
your opinion
Permission,
first.
yeah.
Yeah. But otherwise, you don't like that's. But
I'll talk about myself in a minute.
my point is, at least and bringing us back to something somewhat Masonic, I can tell you Freemasonry has helped my mental health from many standpoints, whether it be, just enjoying the fellowship, whether it's going on the esoteric level and considering, the philosophical aspect of it, the meditation aspect of it. But I'll say this, Frank, I'll say very little, and if you want me to stop, I'll stop. But I don't know another person that's gone through as much as you have in the last couple of years. And the fact that you could still hold it together, at least outwardly, like, I don't know how you do it.
I'm very good about that.
I don't know how you do it. But that's when sometimes I just get an itch or a feeling. And I'll be sitting in the kitchen, Susan and I will be cooking. Hey, Frank, just want to let you know I love you.
Yeah, 10
and that's it.
10 o'clock at night. Hey, brother, I'm thinking about you. I love you. I mean,
That's
Speaking
it.
of which, I need your number, by the way.
yeah, absolutely. I'll be honest, and I'll say it, openly. In the last 4 years, this organization, our brothers, our group of brothers, has saved my life, truly, from the brink, on more than one occasion.
I believe that, knowing what you've been through.
I mean, literally, and it's the random, hey, how you doing? I'm thinking about you, which I don't have normally in life.
Right.
And yourself and God rest this little Chip and me, Mitch Sauce. I mean, names I probably shouldn't be saying without the permission, but there's certain brothers who were and are just somehow able to read randomly somebody needs a hey, I love you, or hey, how you doing, or let's do a coffee, and that has really saved my life. And I'm not going to say how and what,
But we need that. That's
from the edge. I mean, the night that we buried my oldest daughter, life was really, really bad. And there was yourself, there was Chip, who at the time should have been worrying about himself.
and Marty had just passed away like the week before.
Literally, Marty passed away, and 6 hours later, my daughter passed away.
Okay.
So, one of my best friends and mentors in Masonry, Chip, my other mentor and best friend in Masonry, was, fighting for his life, and then my daughter died in the middle. I mean, 6 hours from Marty, and it was bad. Yeah. I don't know how my wife got through it either. Yeah. I mean, I should have been gone that night. Yeah. You. Hey, you okay? Do you need to talk? Chip, and there was a few others. I won't say how in all this, but I was bad. I was in a really, really darker mental place than I'd ever been, and to this day, I still have my problems. And I just a week ago lost my dog, my service dog, my best friend. Yeah. He was trained to hear my pacemaker go off before and get me sedated and the whole bit. And I lost him. I had to make that decision yet again to let someone I love go. I had to do it with my daughter. I had to do it with my extra mother. And it was all in a very short, confined space of time on top of my own physical stuff. And I'm going to say you because you're sitting here, but there's been a few others that somehow key in just know. And we need more of that.
Yeah.
We
Because
do.
realistically, you don't know. Again, quickly talk about myself. I struggle 100% with mental health issues. I struggle. I've always struggled, I think. Again, I lost my mother at a really young age. My father was no fucking picnic. Just the things in life tend to really drag you down sometimes. You know what I mean? And again, I'm more of like, I feel like I'm like the sad clown, right? You know what I mean? Like, smile on the outside, but let me tell you, when I get by myself,
he said that to me a couple times too.
Yep. When I get by myself, my brain starts going. And when my brain gets going, once those freaking wheels start rolling on that train, it can go down quick. And sometimes I'll catch myself where I'll be doing something and I'll just stare. Just stop doing what I'm doing. I'll stare. Because something's just reeling through my brain. But, I mean, it's one of those things. It's like we're men. We're not trained to talk about our issues, our feelings, or things that bother us, right? So, like, in my case, and I think I've said this on the podcast before, but like work, right? Like, my job is, don't get me wrong, I got a pretty cake job. But I deal with the extremes, right? There's days where I'm doing absolutely fucking nothing. Yeah. And then there's days where shit's hit the fan. I got inmates shitting in the back of the van. 2 people are fighting. Like, it can go terrible. They want to fight me, talking about stabbing and shooting me and killing me and coming after my family. These things happen, right? But now, and I'm just saying, like, imagine somebody who's a cop or a firefighter, like, and now their wife is a school teacher, right? And they're talking about, like, oh yes, like, little Timmy spilled his apple juice at school today, and we didn't know what to do. But how was your day, honey? You know what he's gonna say?
Yeah,
it's good.
Fine.
Okay. It's good.
Fine.
Why? Because they cannot. You know what I mean? Like, how do you compare the two?
Well, because I always, like, I've used this expression, and I've tried to be.
I'm trying to read.
I've learned a lot of lessons from the mistakes I made in my first marriage, as far as communication, and tried to be better at those things in my current marriage. And, like, there was a time, and Susan and I have had these conversations where I feel like I'm not allowed to have a bad day. I feel like I'm not allowed to get upset. 100. I'm not allowed to be angry about 100%. Something.
Exactly.
And talking through those and understanding why somebody feels that way, it's because it's been ingrained to us like I said, from a very young age. You're the provider, you're the rock, you're this. There's a lot of pressure that goes with that. So if somebody is important to you and you call them brother, you call them friend, I would encourage all of you, just when they cross your mind, not asking you to pull over on the side of the road and make a 1-hour phone call. If you feel inclined to do so,
shoot a text.
Do so. Shoot a very quick text just saying,
hey man, thinking about you.
Hey, thinking about you. Love you. Hope all is good.
He's really good at that.
That thing is, it's so simple.
I don't have your number, but we do see each other. Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, how you doing?
And if I just say, okay, are you really? You've said that to me before. So we need that. I go visit at least 6 brothers that are no longer active, but they're still brothers. They're older. I check in on them. Hey, are you okay? Do you need me to go pick you up some food, lawn mowed, whatever? I do that, and I don't do it for the pat on the back or recognition or anything.
Because we don't talk about that either.
And I'm bad with, my thing is I bottle everything the fuck up. Right. Everything stays up. And then what happens is it'll resurface with an explosion, like a nuclear fucking detonation. Yeah. And it'll be over something stupid. I can't open the pickle jar, and I'll fucking pitch that bitch across the fucking room. Like, exactly. But you understand, it wasn't the fucking pickle jar. It was a series of events that led up to that.
To that seemingly inconsequential.
And Killdozer, perfect example. Exactly. It was slight after slight after slight. And the worst thing you can do is, for anybody, is when somebody's got a fucking chip on their shoulder and they're pissed off, right? Is to then get pissed off at them for being pissed. Oh, he's being a fucking dick today. Stop and say, why? Right. What's wrong? You good?
You good? Yeah.
Is something wrong? What's wrong? I'm not saying, okay, first off, in other words, what's wrong with you? What's your problem? Or, you good? Like, that's not asking if they're okay. Hey, you all right? You need to talk? Is something you want to talk about? You got to approach things tenderly.
Right.
And then, but then also
Because-
with empathy.
with empathy and don't give up on it right away.
And don't give up, right?
Because your initial response is almost
I'm
always
good.
going to be, I'm fine.
I'm fine.
Right.
Yep.
And-
but I'm not fine.
And
I'm
then
not okay.
Right. But then at some point, you just have to go up to him and say, hey, look, what's really going on here? Because you're not yourself. I know there's something going on. If you don't want to talk about it, you can tell me you don't want to talk about it. But don't look in my face and tell me that there's nothing. I know there is, and I'm here if you need me.
Now, let me add to that real quick.
Right.
Now, if I open up to you and I talk, and you tell me, yo, stop being a bitch. Stop being a pussy. You're fine.
Right.
Really? That's what you're mad about? That's what you give it? That's what's upsetting you?
Then you'll never talk
Fuck
to me
you.
again.
I will never open that
You will
fucking
never
door
open that
ever
door
again.
That's actually happened to me in masonry too. So that's why I shut down for so long. I'm using you as an example because you're sitting here, but over the last couple of years, there's been a few that have been able to chip away, and I live by a very set of rules. But I do want to say the subject that you just touched on, and you did. Jelly Roll has this new song out.
Yep.
It's called "I'm Not All Right."
I'm going to have to listen to this.
It's absolutely phenomenal. It explains the situation where he's saying, "Hey, I'm okay,"
Yep.
but the meaning is, "I'm really not okay. I'm not all right."
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, you look behind me, try to see something.
It's actually Reiki Master 777. Hello, brothers. Doing my EA this month. So happy I listened to all your podcasts. Hopefully not the early ones because they're rough. And we were talking about before. This show helped me make my mind. You guys are really great at sharing knowledge in a fun space. We try.
Thank you.
Warship Killdozer. James Devaney. I'm fine, and the day was okay. Yep. Our usual response. 1,000 fucking percent.
Yep.
We have very few who understand and can actually talk. Yep. And I think that also depends on what you do for a living.
And one other quick
Cops,
thing.
fire department.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, these are things like I'm sorry if I'm a fireman and I pull a kid out of a burning building and that kid dies in my arms. That's not a conversation I'm having.
No.
And if I'm
right.
fucking pissed off and tweaked, that maybe I should have done another chest compression. Maybe maybe if I did one more mouth to mouth. Maybe if I got the AED faster. Like these are things that run through your fucking head on a daily basis, especially for somebody who's in law enforcement or any public service thing. Like these are things that will fucking eat at you.
Yeah.
And if I get to a point where I open up to you and I finally am like, yeah, listen, this is what fucking happened, and
you're disinterested?
Me,
Yeah.
you're disinterested?
Yeah.
Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
I'm never speaking to you again. I will shut down and that door will never be opened again.
Yeah.
I will never say another word to you. Across the board, like, this is why, like, I wanted to bring up Killdozer. Hey, it was the 20th anniversary. But these are, you know, it's a mental health. And I actually, when I sent that originally Killdozer, after Joe's initial, like, the fuck is Killdozer? Like, I had said, I want to tie this into men's mental health and Freemason and all that stuff. And he's like, perfect, let's do it. We need to talk about that.
Once he told me that, I said, I have to be here.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, which goes back to you're talking about, like, law enforcement and firefighters. I wasn't. But I was on the medical.
Oh, I'm just using it as an example because that's kind of was.
I worked in retail for 36 years, retired, and I got retired. In 2014, I had a call for a medical assist, and worked on a guy for 45 minutes to an hour. And this wasn't the first one.
Right.
This is the last guy, and he died. He died on me. Yep. It was one of my customers I knew well. And 2 weeks later, I started having heart attacks at work. The company retired me after 36 years.
So you're saying is that why I'm losing my I'm shitting every 5 seconds and it's freaking basically water?
Literally, it just...
It's funny, too, though. Let me just... I know... I want to continue, but I'm going to add to that, too. Stress does funny things to your fucking body.
Yep.
And by funny, you mean really not funny.
No, really not funny. You get the shits. You were saying heart attacks.
And that's...
Not that I'm in the bathroom with Joe watching his bowel movements, but you know what I mean? Like, it's another point of bringing up the conversation. Hey, you good?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, how you doing? Oh, I'm not going to make it. I'm just using us as an example. Hey, I'm not going to make it to the podcast. I got the fucking shits really bad.
Yeah.
Well, what's going on, man? You good? Everything all right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's just a stomach bug. Maybe I don't know. I'm dealing with dirty bastards at work all day. Maybe that's the case. Or maybe it's something else.
Right.
Doesn't hurt to just ask.
Just ask. Put yourself out there. Make yourself available.
Right.
The best ability is availability.
Absolutely.
And reliability. And you got to be there for your people. And it's simple text. How you doing? Do you need to talk? But don't be one of those people that say, hey, is everything okay? Do you need to talk? And somebody's like, yeah, I need to talk.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then
you could tell that
they don't really.
they don't really want to. They were just trying to throw it out there. But then, like, hey, if you need help with that.
Disinterested.
Yeah, I do need help. Oh, I'm booked. I'm sorry. I can't. I got to go do this. And just real quick, I just want to give a shout out to Mrs. Josanino, who was who
I didn't
scrolled up in the comments
I
there, and
didn't
she's
see it.
watching us now. So, hello, Mrs. Josanino.
Hi. I didn't even see that one. I'm sorry.
I didn't see. Yeah,
It's like right up on the top. Like if you go up like
and
two.
Diane McManus. Hi,
I
honey.
scroll without hitting buttons
I
again
do
before I went
understand
to
exactly what she's saying. Also,
I can't scroll up. I won't let me
but
scroll. I don't want to fuck this up.
I do have.
Oh,
to
there
give,
we go.
I do have to give props to my wife because she looks at me and she's knowing I'm having a bad day or a moment, and I need to. She goes, "Don't you have a meeting you can go to someplace?"
Yeah,
tonight?"
you need that. You need that
Yeah,
to be around
she's-
people. And that's again, that's.
I don't know if that's getting rid of me so she doesn't have to deal with me, or because she knows I feel.
I think she
sick.
knows you need it.
Well,
I think she knows you need it. Like when.
Let's go to that comment real quick.
Which one?
Diane's?
Diana, yeah. Sometimes masonry can be exhausting in a relationship, though it's hard to understand all the commitments from the view of a non-mason.
And,
You
and
have to also understand, and I'm not making
and
excuses.
she's
I'm
the wife
saying
of a
this.
past master.
Yes,
Correct.
I also want to just say, sometimes this is our safe place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
This is where we can be amongst friends and brothers, and this is our decompression spot.
Right.
Right?
100%.
Some men go fishing. Some men go hunting. Some men go bowling or go to the bar, which is the worst place, I think, to decompress.
Which I'm gonna touch
Yeah.
on that for a second when you're done.
This is ours.
Right.
Right.
And I've made this comment before that, like, listen, I'm not at a strip club. I'm not out fucking smoking crack.
Exactly.
I'm not out freaking being a fucking heathen. I'm here.
Or womanizing or something. Yeah.
I'm here.
Why is
You know what I mean? What happened? Everybody's phone went bananas.
It's good.
Yeah, it's good. I don't know.
There's no like alert or anything.
The only alert I got is there was another motorcycle accident.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm on the.
I got nervous. I thought I was going to have to get my Killdozer and get the fuck out of here.
I'm on the emergency response. Alerts.
So anyway, I mean, we're almost 2 hours. Holy shit! Yeah, we could shut this
We
down.
could almost
shortly.
break this into 2 episodes, everyone.
Part 1, Part 2.
That's fine. This is the only place I drink. I have
I can't
plenty
say
of
the same.
I have plenty of booze at home and all that. But I know if I start at home, intrusive thoughts.
Right.
I come here, I'll have a drink, maybe two, smoke a cigar outside with the boys,
Yep.
and I'm done.
Yep.
Okay, I've got that. If I'm doing it at home, 9 times out of 10, I'm alone. And here's a dangerous place for any man, but me specifically. What's in here is not good.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree.
So-
I mean, I drink outside of work, but it's not like I'm not like Jen.
Poor Jen.
Jen got hit again.
See, but it's
Kenny Jenny.
I've said
So
this.
could we call him Jenny from the block now?
I don't know what block he's from. He's from the mean
The
streets.
cinder
of,
block, because apparently that's where he was last night.
The mean streets of Oakville or wherever.
That's where he was passed out. Anyway, all joking
But
aside.
But real quick, just on that point, and I've said this multiple times on the podcast, there have been times, like you said, this is our safe haven.
Yep.
And honestly, it's, to me, one of the reasons why fraternities were created to begin with, because men need to be around men to learn how to be men and to have an understanding that, even whether it be a non-Mason or just, your significant other, just doesn't understand or won't get. But it's also, I said this a lot, there's been times where the last thing I wanted to do is get up, get dressed, and go to lodge on a Wednesday night, Thursday night, Monday night, Saturday night. But when I
struggle with
get
that
there,
every week.
but I force myself to do it because when I get there, there's no place I'd rather be.
Well,
And that's
to add to that, I don't want to, and I convince myself I'm not going to. And my wife will always say, "You have a meeting to go to, and they need you.
Right.
They need you to cook. They need you to be there to listen."
Right.
I'm like, okay.
Now, I also want to talk about residual thoughts, right? So I'm going to use myself as an example. Okay. I've said it before. I ended up getting bladder cancer.
All right. Remember? Yeah.
It's all, they scooped it out with a plastic spork. I'm good now. I still have to go back for regular checks. But understand the time frame that this all happened, okay? So Chip's already got cancer, right? I now have, he's wearing a shirt right there. Chip's already got cancer at this point. He's still alive, not doing very well.
Correct.
He's already got cancer. I get found to have cancer. So what starts going? My brain.
Yep.
Holy shit, am I next?
Yep.
It's the what is it, the rule of three?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Unfortunately, we've had.
It's the
more
rule
than
of three, right?
Yeah.
So you always think, oh well, if he's number one, who's number two? Maybe I'm number three. You know, and then the other thing is like, all right, I'm good with cancer. So the people are asking like, hey, how's the cancer, man? Oh, I'm good. It's gone. Oh, that's cool. And then it's kind of like, okay, he's George is good now. Right? He don't got cancer no more, right?
No, you've always got cancer.
But you always got cancer. But now, in my own head, it's like, well, shit. What if it comes back? Mm-hmm. So every once in a while, I still have those thoughts of, shit, should I start making arrangements to figure out, make sure my life insurance is good, make sure
making your
kids are
plans,
good?
your exit plan.
What am I going to do with
what
what am I going to do with my truck? What am I going to do with my belongings? What am I going to do with my guns? What am I going to do with this? But I'm saying, now, mind you, I don't have cancer, but the residual thought is, well, Chip died. He didn't make it. Yeah. What's to say it's not going to come back on me and I'm next?
I'll tell you what.
And that is a fucking struggle almost every day for me. Right. And that's something that just replays from time to time. Yep. But so now if I'm in a piss-ass fucking mood, maybe it's got nothing to do with you. Maybe it's got nothing to do with work. Maybe it's like...
Right.
Just...
Can I expand?
Yeah, go for it.
Chip has... I just lost my daughter.
Yep.
And one of my best friends, Marty, God rest his soul, beautiful man who's never ever going to be forgotten. Chip has cancer.
Yep.
I'm helping, and I have promises that I made to him that I still have to complete, which are going to take years.
Yep.
My sister has stage 4 lung cancer, so there's no reprieve for me on that.
Right.
I've always got to be worried
it's always
about
right there.
Yep. And you always get that, when is it my turn? When is my turn?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I struggle with that occasionally.
Especially now we're all getting older. I'm the most oldest.
Huh? No, I'm older than him.
I took my shot. Shot my shot. He was on his phone.
Okay. You're good.
I'm the oldest one.
I know. I just wanted to take a shot at the old master.
That's fine.
But I'll never be a past master, but I'll always be a...
No, that's his nickname, Old Master.
Old Master.
That's what I am on Discord.
Discord, yeah.
Gotcha.
Old Master.
I'll always be a master mason, and I'll always be there to help someone, but I'll be the last one to ask for help.
Right.
And I'm not very gracious about accepting it either.
Me neither.
Which we all need to...
take a step back and really do. Well, that's part of it, but that also ties into everything we're talking about.
And that's where I even said to Susan the other night. Like, we're sitting in the kitchen talking. I think I had texted you just to check in on you because sometimes she's amazing.
She'll actually sometimes tell you to text me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, you haven't heard from him in a while. Check on him.
Yeah.
And she's done that with several people. But we were in the kitchen the other night talking about stuff, and sometimes you get into a conversation, and it goes down maybe a deeper thing than you thought it might.
Yeah.
And you go down the rabbit hole, and then really what I ended up talking about is what the brothers have taught me from Freemasonry, specifically, when you look at Chip and Marty and other brothers. As tough as it was, there were some lessons learned there. They taught us something in their passing about the way that they led their lives.
Yeah.
Two very different situations.
Right.
Chip knew it was coming for years. Yeah. Marty, nobody expected.
Yeah. No,
but it could happen to us anytime.
And the difference is, and Marty passing, it was so quick, but he lived his life by a Masonic rule.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or by a open man. Chip never cared about himself.
Correct.
He would always say, "How are you doing? Are
Yeah.
you okay?"
Never give a shit about himself.
And you know
He
he's
really
going
did.
through worse things than any of us
mean,
were. Yeah.
I had the last picture ever taken of him
Yeah.
with a freaking smile on his face, and excuse my language, doing a double fuck you to the world. And I struggle with certain things sometimes, and I have a coin in my pocket that I carry all the time that was given to me. It has the rules of tenets that I'm supposed to live by. And I'm not going to name drop. And when I'm having a day when, like, what am I supposed to be doing? I take out this coin and I read it. And it really spells out exactly what I'm supposed to do. I'll show it to you. If I can get it out of my pocket.
Uh-oh.
Oh, your device is going to restart.
Yeah, we'll probably have to shut this down momentarily because it's going to freaking yell at me in a minute.
It's a double cider.
Yeah, so...
That goes everywhere.
yeah.
Like that.
So, yeah, Killdozer. Who's helped me build it?
I can't weld, but I can cure.
I can weld. I used to make tree stands for my metal shop teacher back in high school. So I could weld things that could hold like 300-pound men up.
So that when I'm having a day.
Hey, I was thinking, just on a side note,
this is like Charles
you
Island
know
all
what would
over.
be fucking... No, you know what? How poetic would this be? So we talked about how he built this thing. He put steel, and then he filled the middle of the two steel things with concrete. Do you think he got it from the concrete plant? That would be fucking poetic shit right there.
The irony.
I'm going to ram your fucking building down with your own goddamn concrete. I fucking love it. I hope that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
He bought the concrete from the concrete factory that he was going to mow down.
No.
I think he walked in there with a smile and was super nice too, knowing exactly what he was going to do. Tell me that ain't genius. All right, bros, what do you say? You want to shut this shit down?
Absolutely. Thank you for
Yeah.
having
Any
me.
parting comments?
anytime.
Franky Bombs.
I thank you for letting me come, inviting me.
Of course.
This has been interesting and enlightening and actually heart lifting in a weird way.
Good.
So
That's
Awesome.
it's
And you didn't shit your pants about the camera either.
right. So you forgot about it, didn't you? After a
You're
while.
winning on all boards here.
No, but like my parting comments here is like, check on your brothers.
Yep.
Check
Yes,
in on them.
absolutely.
If they pop into your head, shoot them a
It's
text
for a reason,
just to
yeah.
check in.
All right.
There's absolutely a reason. And no, Frank, thanks for coming on. Thanks for opening
Yes,
up about some of
Hey, I'm
your
right
own
around the
struggles,
corner
and
anytime, yeah.
you're welcome anytime, especially if Jen can't get here.
Yeah, so let's close it up. For the Free Mates podcast, I am Right Worship Brother George Mudry signing off.
Worshipful Brother Joe signing off.
And Brother Frank, thank you.
Brother Frank signing off. Hey,
Hey!
one last thought.
Oh, boy.
Does Ken work in some concrete company?
He does,
agree.
but I don't
You-
want to name, I don't know.
No, we're not naming names,
Yeah.
but he does, right?
He develops
Yeah.
the chemical systems for him.
Awesome. You got the guns.
I can
He
weld.
knows how to weld.
My
I can drive a bulldozer.
And he's got the
and he's the
concrete. Now
We're good.
Now we just need
lost
materials.
my guns in the river.
Have a good night, everyone.